Okay, so welcome to our session on the topic of forgiveness, the power of forgiveness. I'm sure we can all relate to this because many of us probably have been in a situation where somebody says or does something and we get offended. Being offended is always a sign of false ego, rebellion, complaining. So and then very often when we are offended, not easy to forgive, to let go and move on. Very commonly we keep these grudges in our hearts, sometimes for many years, sometimes even up to 20 years. People still remember what this person said, what this person did, and we just can't let go. And this actually blocks us. And very commonly we think that when we forgive, we actually do this for others. But actually we don't. It's mainly for ourselves. That we can heal and we can let go and move on. So it's quite an interesting topic because again it is very subtle and people often don't even, they're not even mindful what is actually taking place there on the subtle level. And yesterday we had the introductory session to the thoughts ego. So we will discover that today's session, forgiveness, is again connected with the thoughts ego. So to begin with, I would like to share one statement which Devaki makes about forgiveness. And this is quite interesting because he gives a few good points here. He says this is from the Chaitanya Shiksamrita, and it says there, giving up the desire to punish a person for committing an offense is called forgiveness or tolerance. So let's have a look at this again. So giving up the desire to punish a person for doing something nasty to us. That's what forgiveness is all about. So in other words, there is this very subtle desire to retaliate, to take revenge. Right? So if somebody does something nasty to us, and we want to get back at them. So we want to hang on to this right to punish the person for what they have done to us. So as long as we hang on to this desire to punish the person, we actually cannot forgive. Interesting, huh? Yeah, we may have never even thought about things in that way, because it's all so subtle, not conscious and aware of it. So that's what Bhaktivinoda says, giving up the desire to punish a person for committing an offense. That is called forgiveness. When we let go of this desire to do something nasty. Even though it may never manifest, it may never manifest on the gross level, but we hang on to that right to do something nasty to them for what they have done to us. That's the first interesting point in Bhaktivinoda Thakur's statement. But then the second one is equates forgiveness with tolerance. Right? That he says to give up that desire to punish a person for what they do to us, that is forgiveness or tolerance. So that already gives us that understanding how actually forgiveness is connected with tolerance. And tolerance is connected with letting go of the demands of the false ego. So it's interesting how it is all connected. And we can even say the primary quality is humility, which we need to have. We all know it. We should be more humble than a blade of grass. So humility is the primary quality, which manifests in secondary qualities, such as tolerance, or respect, or forgiveness, or gratitude, right? They're always secondary qualities of humility. In other words, a humble person will always be respectful, grateful, tolerant. But a proud person will never be any of these. Right? So it all is connected. Humility is the primary quality, and we may consider ourselves pretty humble. That's another false ego trick here. Just look how humble I am. That means we are proud of our humility. But it's easy to say we are humble. But then the real challenge comes when we are in a provocative situation. How tolerant we can be, how forgiving we can be, how grateful we can be for every little thing. So that is the real test then, where we show how humble we really are. So I would like to use this today's session to first introduce a few topics, a few aspects of tolerance. And then I would like to read some forgiveness meditations from this false ego book, because the whole tolerance and forgiveness is in the false ego book also. And I put some forgiveness meditations in there, which I hope and believe that they're quite useful for us to get some deeper understanding and ignite the root what really forgiveness is all about. But since forgiving is really based on the ability to tolerate, that's why I first want to have a little bit at tolerance. Because tolerance is such an important quality to develop. My God. We can almost say a person's spiritual advancement can be measured in how tolerant he or she can be. Yeah. And spiritual strength also can be measured in our ability to tolerate. Haridas, Thakur, Maharaj, they're always the shining examples for this. And because tolerance means that the false ego is already at least a little bit subdued, dissolved, so that is a sign of spiritual advancement. As we know, I think we mentioned it yesterday, if we want to go back to God, somebody has to be completely transformed and spiritualized, and all the material aspects have to be replaced with spiritual aspects. So it's a whole big internal work we have to do. So if a person has a good ability to tolerate, it means they have already done quite a bit of internal work there. Yeah, so let me read a few little quotes and statements about tolerance. There is one nice one in 1848, There so forbearing is another term for tolerant, that even though they are defamed, cheated, cursed, disturbed, neglected, or even killed, they are never inclined to avenge themselves. Wow, that's a pretty high level of tolerance, isn't it? Oh my God, yes, I think that level of tolerance only Marjorie does tackle in manifest. Yes. Yeah, so let's have a look at it. Defamed, when we are defamed, that's a bit of a challenge for the full ego. Hey, you young boys, why don't you sit here in the front? Come on, don't be so far away. I want to see your smiling faces here. Sit in the front. I'm a personalist. I like to connect with my audience, and when you're hiding there in the back, I can't even see. Also, now all the students are coming. Oh, thank God, so we have a few people here. Yes, so yeah, when we are defamed, this is a real challenge to our false ego, because we are so attached what everybody thinks of us, and that if our reputation is ruined, this is a challenge, especially if it is somehow in an unfair way, if our reputation is ruined by somebody creating rumors about us or whatever, which are not even true, and then everybody believes it, and this is hard to tolerate. Because we are so attached to what everybody thinks about us. And whenever this thought comes into our mind, what is everybody thinking of me now? This is always a sure sign of the false ego. Definitely. So, and what else did we have here? Defined, cheated. Oh, this is also a big challenge. If somebody cheats us, false ego rebels and cries for justice and fairness. Yes, very strong. Good to understand that it's a false ego. Sometimes we see when some crime was performed, somebody got killed or something, that the family members, they can't find at least a little bit of peace unless this person is in jail for 30 years or something, right? Yes, and if there's not some punishment for this person, it almost drives them into the ground, right? Yes. So good to understand it's actually the false ego which rebels, because again, at the moment of death, does that matter whether the murderer is in jail for 30 years or only 10 or something? It has no significance anymore. It's all part of the nonsensical stage performance, as we discussed yesterday. So at the moment of death, the show is over and the curtain closes, and all these things don't matter anymore, actually. Right? Yes, and what else do we have here in the line? Cursed, well, the curses are not so powerful anymore, thank God. But disturbed, neglected, that is also a big one. Being neglected, ignored. Yes, also painful. This can we can almost feel it like a physical pain in our heart. But yeah, it's the false ego which is pain. Yes, or insulted. There's also another quote in the 11th canto where it says, tolerance means to patiently endure unhappiness such as that provoked by insults or neglect that's what tolerance is all about, to patiently endure this kind of unhappiness, coming from insults or negligence. So when somebody insults us, this is also a challenge there. So, to patiently endure that. That's what tolerance is all about. So now sometimes people say, well, how much can we tolerate? Or people say, when I tolerate, then all this negativity builds up in me, and then I explode, or I get angry, or I get sick. And yeah, I've met people who say, tolerance, it doesn't work for me. But let us understand there is a difference between true tolerance and simply suppressing things. So suppressing anything will not give the solution. Doesn't matter what we try to suppress, even material desires, just to suppress them is not purifying. No, we have to do some internal work. And the same thing in regards to false ego, just to try and push it down and shut up. That's not what we call tolerance actually. That's simply suppressing. But internally, the whole false ego battle continues, and the false ego still cries out and demands and whispers all that stuff in our ear that, oh, actually, they shouldn't have treated you like this and that and this and that. So the whole false ego battle continues. So that's not tolerance, that's suppressing. And most people think that to be tolerant, because we may never have heard that there is something else there which we are meant to go to. So true tolerance, to cultivate true tolerance, we need two tools. Yeah, good to write on that. The first tool is that we have this mood, actually, I deserve so much worse than this. Krishna is so kind, he only gives me one drop of what I really deserve. I must have given this person a hard time in this life or in the previous life, and now I'm getting back what I deserve. And actually, I deserve so much more than what I'm getting. That's the first tool. If we try to cultivate this vision, this mood, it will quieten down the false ego a little bit. We may not be able to be successful in this from one day to the other. It may require a bit of cultivation, a little bit of internal work. That's unusual ambulance. Yeah, so we may not immediately succeed in it, but it is a question of cultivation, of internal work. And again, as I stressed yesterday, with all this subtle internal work, we need the help of a mentor. Yes. Because by ourselves, we can easily forget that. But we need this well-wishing friend who is more experienced, who says, hey, try to see that actually maybe we deserve more than what we actually get in here. Krishna is so kind. It could be worse. It could be worse. Good thing to also remember whenever we are facing some calamity, some accident, some disease, we cut off our fingertip. We could have cut off the whole arm or hand or something, but we thank God it's only the fingertip. us to tolerate whatever we are facing. You know, to remember actually it could be worse. You know? Yeah. So now my question to you, what quality do we need to have that vision? We kind of mentioned it already in the beginning, just to give you a hint here, but just to make sure that we really get the point and we are thinking along here and not just sitting there and spacing out. So what quality do we need to have that vision? That, thank God, Krishna gives us a human what we really should get. And I'm a rascal, I deserve worse than this. So what quality do we need to have? That's what we're discussing with now. No.
Forgiveness.
No. You didn't hear. 3 times no. Yes, humility. Yes. As we mentioned in the beginning, humility is the primary quality which manifests in the secondary quality. So we need at least a little bit of humility to have this mood. I'm a rascal, I deserve worse. You know? Yes. Without humility, we will never think like that. You know, a proud person will think, or even say, how can they treat me like this? Don't they know I've done so much service, I've given so much money, and. But sometimes people even have that mood towards Krishna. You know, when they face some calamity, some cancer diagnosis or something, you know, what is this? Krishna's probably not even existing. You know, I've chanted on Krishna for 35 years and I'm good at this. Forget it. You know, why is this? It's unfair. You know? Yes. So that's a sign of lack of humility. You know? Yes. So humility is the first tool. And then the second tool, we have to have that approach. That we see Krishna's hand in the whole picture. That Krishna is trying to teach me here something. You know, there's, after all, not a blade of grass is moving without Krishna's sanction. So there must be some reason why Krishna allows this to happen. So what lesson is he trying to teach me? That's the second tool, to have that approach, to see Krishna behind everything that happens in our life. And that actually is what it means to be Krishna conscious. You know? Yes. That we really can connect each and every situation in our life with Krishna being behind it. So usually we manage to see Krishna's hand in things very nicely when things go according to our plans, when our desires for sense gratification are fulfilled. Oh yes, it's Krishna's arrangement, how nice. You know, then we can see it very nicely. But maybe it is in Maya's arrangement, or is alluring us or something. It's not always Krishna's arrangement. But when things don't go the way we hope or plan for, when some calamity comes, then it's difficult for people to see it as Krishna's arrangement. So difficult. So that just shows, that our Krishna consciousness is not that deep. If we can only see Krishna's hand in things when life goes nice and smooth and jolly, but if there's some tough times, then we can't see Krishna's hand in the picture. And I have come across this quite a bit, because often people ask me for guidance and so on. So that, I've seen 25, 30 years, they do every morning their little puja there, but then something strikes which is really doesn't fit into their plan. They can't even see Krishna's arrangement in it. Sometimes you're surprised. You think, God, he's doing this puja every day. But then we can't connect things with Krishna. So now my question to you, what is the second tool? What quality do we have to be able to see Krishna's hand in the picture? Who can understand that? What do we have to have? Surrender, trust. Trust goes pretty close, but there's another word which is it better. Yes, exactly. Faith. We need faith in Krishna, unflinching faith. Then we can see Krishna's hand in everything, even if the biggest calamity happens. If we have faith in Krishna, nothing will shake us. Faith is another one of these really important things to develop. Faith in Srila Prabhupada. So important. If we have faith in Srila Prabhupada, doesn't matter what happens in this God, we will stick with the process. Yes. Because there's always something going on in this God. By the way, I never even mentioned this. I have the third Diksha Guru. I joined in Australia in 85, so I was initiated by Bhavananda. So he was Maharaj, Guru, Sannyasi, TPC, everything. So then he had to step down. But he's still around. I'm meeting him in Mayapur. Did I share this already? Oh, I did? Okay, then no need to share it again. Did I say it yesterday? Or did I share it with you privately?
In the houseboat.
Oh, at the first houseboat, that was a very small group. So anyway, Bhavananda was my first group. Then I took reinitiation of Papa Vishnu, former Swami Narayan. Then he also had to step down. So then I took one more time, reinitiation of His Holiness Niranjana Swami. But all three personalities were the right person at that time. So I don't have any grudges and hard feelings or anything. But sometimes people ask me, how could you survive all that? Faith in Prabhupada. If you have faith in Prabhupada, nothing can shake you. And so many people, they give up Krishna consciousness when their guru falls down. Even though the Bhagavatam is full of stories where great saintly personalities fall down, my God, it's just a little detour, on the journey home. If you understand things a little deeper, then this will not shake you and make you leave or something. But faith in Prabhupada, faith in Krishna, this is so important. Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he says, faith in Krishna is the currency to purchase Krishna. Very nice. Yes. And it's very natural. We also have that experience in our daily life. If somebody has strong faith in us, then we feel obliged, right? We don't want to let that person down. We will reach out. We will give some care because this person has so much faith in us. Yes. So in Krishna is the same. If he sees that his devotee has faith in him and is willing to tolerate so many challenges, so then Krishna, of course, he reaches out, he doesn't let us down. And he's purchased, he's conquered by the he also makes this nice analogy. He says, in the beginning stage, our faith is as weak as a newborn baby girl. So the baby girls are usually a little weaker than the baby boys. So baby girl. And like baby girl or boy needs protection, nourishment, so our faith needs to be protected and nourished. So it becomes eventually unflinching. That's actually a nice definition of what devotee care is all about. It's all about nourishing and protecting a devotee's faith in Prabhupada Krishna and the Holy Land. Because again, it doesn't matter how much you care for a person emotionally or materially, but sooner or later some test comes. And if people have not developed strong faith, they may still leave. Doesn't matter how much you try to care for them. But if the essence of devotee care is to nourish and protect the devotee's faith, then it doesn't matter what will happen. The person will survive. The topic of devotee care we have on Tuesday. Yes, anyway, so faith in Krishna, that's the second tool. Only then we can see Krishna's hand in the whole picture. Right? Yes. So, very clearly, if we cultivate these two aspects, the humility, remembering that Krishna is so kind, he only gives us one drop of what we really deserve, and why is Krishna putting me in this situation? What is he trying to teach me? He must have some reason why I'm experiencing this whole scenario. So if we cultivate these two approaches, that will quieten the false ego down. And that will help us to tolerate, right? Makes sense? Doesn't it? Yes, yeah. So that is true tolerance. It requires some internal work, not just suppressing and the whole false ego battle continues internally. No. We have to do this internal work of cultivating these approaches to a situation. And then we cultivate true tolerance. So that gives us an idea what tolerance is all about. One other thing is that very often the question comes up, what about abuse? Should that be tolerated? Right? It's very often in people's minds when we talk about tolerance. So no, let's be clear. We cannot justify abusive behavior in the name of tolerance. That cannot take place. But also, in regards to the false ego, there is one Vaishnava etiquette rule that we actually should not defend ourselves. A Vaishnava never defends himself or herself. But a Vaishnava steps in and defends others when they are badly treated. And if everybody would follow this rule of Vaishnava etiquette, then there would be no need even for us to defend ourselves, because surely somebody else would step up and say something, right? But unfortunately, we all do the opposite of what we really should be doing. We are very good at defending ourselves every day, verbally answering back, making excuses, blaming others. They're all different defense mechanisms. But when somebody else is badly treated, or then we look away, or I'm not going to get involved in that one, it may damage my relationships, and after all, some people there who I are involved in this, they are kind of my friends or something, so I won't say anything. This is the problem, right? That we're doing the opposite of what we should be doing. And actually, just to back that up, to this verse we read where it says, no matter whether we are cheated or defamed or whatever, devotees never inclined to avenge themselves. In the purport, Prabhupada says, as such, the devotees are never inclined to counteract personal defamation, curses, negligence, etc. As far as such things are concerned, in personal affairs, the devotees do not care for them. In other words, for me personally, I don't mind tolerating anything. But in the case of their being performed against the Lord or his devotees, then the devotees take very strong action. That's the Vaishnava etiquette. So, and even in abusive situations, when we find ourselves in actual abuse, very difficult to defend yourself. So again, we need a mentor. And we go to our mentor and we reveal our mind, our heart, we share what's happening here. And that person has to defend, that person has to step in and do something. But yeah, unfortunately, what has happened that nobody says anything. And people allow the offense to go on, the abuse. That's the problem. That we have to follow that etiquette. And defend that person. Doesn't matter whether it will be some disadvantage for us or whatever. Oh, come on, yeah, so that's my comment in regards to abuse. So now, before we start this forgiveness meditation, let me see if we have any questions just on that in regards to tolerance. Or if there's any questions connected to yesterday's session, false ego, because we didn't have time to ask questions. Is there anything which you would like to further discuss or clarify or anything? How was your change? Do we have anything? No? Come on. There's so practical topics, people always have something to ask. No? Nothing? All right. We'll continue. Oh. Yeah. Maybe I should at this point share, since we have a bit of time still, I can share some very practical 5 steps, which are very useful and simple, and they really work. Whenever we want to transform some unwanted patterns of behaviors. Let's imagine we just said the devotee should never defend himself or herself, but maybe we realize, oh my God, I'm constantly defending myself, I'm answering back, I want to have the last word, I want to prove that I'm right, and the classic mechanism to defend is to blame others. We defend the false ego. Everything is okay with me. It's all the others. It's the external situations. I'm okay. And I say these are all different defense mechanisms. Finding excuses. That's the classic. When you say something, hey, that wasn't proper. Yeah, well, it was this and that. So now let us imagine we have this really strong habit of always defending, and now after a session here we realize, oh my God, I should actually stop this. Or envy on Sunday morning, during Bhagavatam class, we will have a session on envy. We discuss one verse from the Bhagavatam 4:8-34, where all the envious and non-envious behavior towards seniors, equals, juniors is described. It's quite a bit of an eye-opener and a heart surgery, when we realize, oh my God, I've got it all. So yeah, let me quickly mention 5 steps which are very useful to know. So step number 1 is always hearing about the topic. That's why I like to discuss them, because unless we hear about these topics, we are not even mindful of them, we are not even conscious of them. Amen? Prabhupada was always saying, before becoming Krishna conscious, we have to become conscious first. Amen? And we're just so unconscious, doing all these things and never even realizing what's actually happening there on this other level. So hearing about it is always step number 1. Then step number 2 is desiring to do something about it. Then we realize, oh my God, with this envy and false ego, I'm never going to be able to go back to God. So I'm going to do something about it, because we can easily miss the whole target in Krishna consciousness. And we can just very nicely feed and boost the false ego, defend it, massage each other's false egos. It's all going on like anything in the name of Krishna consciousness. We talked about it yesterday. Yes. So we can easily miss the whole target. Even kirtan can be the scenario to show off. Yes, it's happening. Yes. Yeah, so that's why. And we can nicely sweep it under the carpet, hoping that nobody notices. And it's all right, I'm changing, we can justify it all. Yeah, so, but if we are a little more perceptive and we hear, then we realize, oh my God, I have to do something about it. So step number 2 is desiring. Step number 3 is being introspective and honest, looking in our hearts, what is happening there? Why am I doing this? Why am I saying this? Why do I have some bad and ugly feeling after this exchange with this devotee? What actually took place here? We have to be introspective and honest. Without this introspectiveness and honesty, we actually cannot make advancement. We can justify it all. We hang on to all our false ego patterns of behaviors, and then we are actually committing the 10th offense to chanting the holy name, to maintain material attachments, even after hearing so many instructions on this matter. Yes, the subtle material attachment to this false ego gratification. Yeah. So without introspection and honesty, we can't get anywhere. Our spiritual practice will be very external actually. Yeah. So this introspection and honesty has to become like our second nature. That's what it means to be conscious. That we are always mindful. What effect my words have on others, my activities, what took place here on this little level. Yes. So, and again, at this 3rd step, we usually need the help of a mentor. Yes, because in our initial stage, we cannot see it. We cannot see it. We need that well-wishing friend who is our confidential person in our life, where we can really share things that who we want to be corrected by. So then comes step number 4. We catch ourselves doing the wrong thing. So that is already progress, because so many times in the past we did the wrong thing, but we never even realized. So at least now we realize, again I couldn't shut up. I had to make that remark. I had to defend myself, and. You know? So we catch ourselves doing the wrong thing. And then step number 5, let me ask you, what's the next step after catching ourselves doing the wrong thing? What do we do? Let me see if anybody can understand this. Well, if it was so easy, right? We can correct ourselves, we can make all these big vows there, I'm not going to do it again, and then 5 minutes later we do it again, because one's ego is pretty deep and powerful, not so easy to shake it off. So, what do we do? What? Ask for forgiveness, yeah, alright, but sometimes people ask 50 times for the same thing for forgiveness, because they do it again. So, what's the internal work we'll do? Any suggestion? What do we need to do? Come on, somebody has to get it. Usually people get it. What do we do? Yeah, but now, after introspection, we catch ourselves doing the wrong thing. So, what do we do? Come on, folks.
Pray.
Yes, we pray. We cry out to Krishna, to Lord Nrsimhadev. He is the expert heart surgeon. With his sharp nails, he can rip out these Hiranyakashipus. Yes, because envy and false ego, they are like Hiranyakashipus. Hiranyakashipu is the personification of envy, false ego. Envy and false ego, by the way, they're good friends. They always like to move around together. Yes, they like each other. So yeah. Praying to Lord Nrsimhadev, that's our only saving grace, because the false ego has accompanied us for so many lifetimes. We are out of our own strength, we can't free us from that. It's like a demoniac quality there, Kali Yuga, demons and devotees live in the same house. Yes, and actually Lord Nrsimhadev prepares our heart so that one day we can approach Radha Krishna. That's what he does. Yes. So that's why in Mayapur, we always greet Lord Nrsimhadev first. Who speaks to Mayapur? Not so many? Yes, we greet Lord Nrsimhadev first at Darshanat. And then we go over to Vanjanatra. Need their mercy first, and only then we greet Radha Madhav. So there's a reason, it's not just by chance or something. Okay. So Lord Nrsimhadev, we have to beg him, but see, our problem is that we think this envy, false ego, whatever it may be, will give us some juicy fruits to enjoy. That false ego gratification of being somebody important, we're being onto it because it is promising some little enjoyment there. So that's why we're not so serious in really begging Lord Nrsimhadev to rip it out. But if we beg, he does so. Yes, I've experienced it. It's a situation where we get some attacks where we really are forced to go a little deeper and do something and keep things out and so on. So, and if a person agrees to do these last 3 steps, being introspective and honest, catching ourselves doing the wrong thing, crying out to Krishna, being introspective and honest, catching ourselves doing the wrong thing, crying out to Krishna. Sooner or later, step number 6 comes. We catch ourselves doing the right thing. Some, everyday situation comes our way, and we catch ourselves, this time I didn't have to respond. I could let it go. I was not triggered and provoked and all that, and I could just let it go by without even responding. And we think, 2 weeks before I may have reacted differently, but now I can let it go. So, obviously, Krishna helps if we do this internal work, and that's when we actually make progress to advance in Krishna consciousness. It's not an external thing. It's not a question of, first initiation, second initiation, now I've got a position, I've got 55,000 followers on Facebook. No, this is not what bhakti is all about. We often approach Krishna consciousness in such an external way. But we have to do this internal work. When we do that, that's when we finally make some progress. And many of you are students, but married life offers so much opportunity for this, right? The ladies are not admitting it's inspiring. Yes, so much opportunity for this. That's why family life is so immensely purifying. Because the other person, our spouse, acts like a mirror and reflects our behavior, and we practice on each other to let go of our false egos. And if we don't want to do this internal work, people get divorced. Yes. People are sometimes willing to ruin their whole family relationship just with these petty and stupid little false ego battles. Who is right, who is wrong, to see our fault, who to lie, and all these kind of arguments. That's the thing. Any family problem or marriage problem can be solved. Any family issue can be solved if both are willing to take guidance and work on themselves rather than blaming the other person. This blaming, that's what's always happening in married life. My husband, my wife. And then, of course, we don't get that purification. So these are the magic steps. You try it. It's a lot of constant internal work, constantly. I've been doing it for a few years, and gradually I see I have energy to transform a little bit, but there's still a lot of work to be done. It's so subtle, and the more you become purified, the more you realize how much is to be done. So subtle. Alright, so any question about that? We're not very talkative here tonight. Alright, let me turn to this forgiveness meditations. So let's begin by remembering that life in the material world will always confront us with so many unexpected disappointments and hurtful situations. This is unavoidable. It's part of life in the material world. And our relationships will be filled with so much more joy and harmony as we learn to forgive and move on. Right? Can somebody do me a favor and extinguish the incense? Put it out, the incense, because I'm allergic to incense. I didn't know the effects by that. Even at a big temple room like this, I can do it with you. So, since we are in Africa here, I'm sure you have heard of Nelson Mandela, right? The freedom fighter in South Africa, who was in prison for quite a few years now. So he's saying, as I walked out the door towards the gate that would lead to my freedom, meaning leaving the jail, I knew if I didn't leave my bitterness and hatred behind, I would still be in prison. Yeah. So this bitterness and hatred, if we can't leave it behind and let go of it, that keeps us in prison, actually. Locks us out. Another thinker discovers, I never knew how strong I was until I had to forgive someone who wasn't sorry and accept an apology I never received. We can forgive others not because they deserve forgiveness, but because we deserve peace. Yeah. Very often we think, like, oh no, I'm not going to forgive that person. He doesn't deserve it. But no, that's not the point. We're not so much doing it for the other person, but no, we're doing it for ourselves. And we may think we do it for others because, as we said, forgiveness means we have to let go of our right to punish the person, what they did to us. So because it's so subtle, and we're not actually doing anything. But that's why we think we are doing it for the other person to forgive. Because I don't want to punish them anymore. Right? But actually, we do it for ourselves because we deserve peace. Yes, that's the whole point. The other person may have already long forgotten the whole episode, moved on already, but we are still hanging on to it, and don't want to forgive, so we simply hurt ourselves. The truth is, unless we let go, unless we forgive ourselves, that's also sometimes difficult to forgive ourselves, right? We may have done some blunder, some really foolishness saying, and the false ego whispers into our ears, how could you do this? Just see what everybody's thinking now of you. Your reputation is finished, and so we can't forgive ourselves. And again, if we use these two tools of thinking it could be worse, Krishna only gave me one drop of what I really deserve, and there must be a reason why Krishna arranges this whole thing. Maybe I was too puffed up thinking of myself to be a pure devotee, and boom, I did some stupid thing which made it very clear, some fall down or whatever, and which made it very clear I'm not as strong and pure as I thought. So, unless we forgive ourselves, unless we forgive the situation or others around us, unless we realize the situation is over, it's in the past, it's done, we can't change it. So unless we we realize these things, we cannot move forward. That's the whole point. We can't move forward. We're trapped and stuck. And again, that's when we need a mentor who points that out to us, who helps us to see and let go. Forgiveness is not only something we do for other people, we also do it for ourselves to get well and move on. Forgiveness does not excuse their behavior. That's another thing we often think, that by forgiving a person, we excuse and he's let off the hook. But no, that's not what it is. Forgiveness does not excuse their behavior, but it prevents their behavior from destroying our heart. That's what it does. Because unless we learn to let go, it can eat us up. Yes, it can really eat us up. Maybe it is not always about trying to fix something broken. Maybe it's about starting over and creating something better. Forgiveness is when I give up my right to hurt you for hurting me. So that's what Taco also says. It is not about letting someone off the hook for their behavior, but freeing ourselves of negative energies that bind us to them. That's a nice way of putting it. It frees us from that negativity which connects us to them. Forgiveness does not erase the bitter past. Sometimes we have the saying, forget it, forgive. But no, actually we should not forget. Because if we forget, maybe we allow the same thing to happen. And oh no, we do remember, we don't forget. We remember what happened. But we remember in a different way. Remember without that bitterness, without that pain. Maybe we can even laugh or smile about it and say, oh yeah, this thing happened. Okay, I remember that whole story. But there's not that grudge and that bitterness there. Yes, yes. So forgiveness does not erase the bitter past. A healed memory is not a deleted memory. Right? Yeah, so we want to heal our memory. We don't delete it. No, we do remember. Instead, forgiving what we cannot forget creates a new way of remembering. That's what it does. Right? Yes, without the pain and the bitterness. We change the memory of our past into a hope for our future. Relationships get stronger when both are willing to understand mistakes and forgive each other. We can offer a prayer. My dear Lord, if I hurt others, give me the strength to apologize. If people hurt me, the strength to forgive. So what do you think is more difficult? Apologizing or forgiving? What? Apologizing? You think so? It takes a strong person to say sorry and an even stronger person to forgive. Even though with apologizing, sometimes also we are locked up in this ego battle, and we think actually the other person should apologize, it wasn't my fault. Or we say, yeah, I'm sorry, but actually. So that kind of apology is of course not so serious and not coming from that. suffered, to forgive the one that inflicted it. And yet, there is no peace without forgiveness. When we forgive, we heal. When we let go, we grow. Yeah, so it gives us some little idea what this whole topic of forgiveness is all about. Any final concluding question from you? Yes, sir.
I have a question. If by some magic you can get rid of a false ego.
Oh, I can't hear you. The hall is big. We don't have another mic. Quick. Run. That's how it works. Yes.
First, thank you very much, Mataji. If by some magic.
By some
magic.
Yes,
you could get rid of false ego, what would be left?
The real ego. Were you there yesterday?
Yeah.
So, we discussed the real ego is Jiva's Sugara Krishna Nityanas. Prabhupada, perfect example. He was beyond false ego. His true identification was, I am servant. Yes. Yes, sometimes people have this misconception. They think as long as we are in the material world, we need the false ego. But no, you look at Prabhupada, Bhaktisiddhanta, there's so many amazing examples. Yes. So, our whole personality will start to unfold and even the beauty of our spiritual relationship with the Lord will manifest more and more. The true ego. Yes. All right. Anything else? Yes.
Madhuri, you talked about forgiveness, but in the normal meanings of things, you find sometimes when you forgive, people tend to take advantage more. Yeah? They think forgiveness is weakness.
Yeah. Not even forgiveness, but even tolerance people see as weakness.
Yeah.
Right? There's this verse in Bhagavad Gita 269. What is day to the materialist is night to the spiritualist. So what is success, what's the highest in spiritual life, is seen as being the lowest in material life. So the quality of tolerance is a very good example for this, because tolerance in the spiritual vision is one of the highest and most important qualities. But with mundane vision, what? You tolerate that? Forget it. I wouldn't tolerate that. There you're going to defend and stand up for your right and fight for yourself. That's success. So, and with forgiveness, maybe also. See, it may look like this, but a person may be very successful, always battling through life, defending very successfully, but then at the moment of death, another birth. Because they did not manage to give up their false ego. And the other way around, a person with mundane eyes may look like he or she is a loser and weak. But no, the spiritual vision, they have taken all these challenging situations to dissolve the false ego, and at the moment of death, they are sneaking out the back door, back to Godhead. Yes. So we should not be confused about this. We may look like a weak person. But no, with spiritual eyes and strength, and we will go back together.
Madam, the last question, kindly. Madam, you find in the normal dealings, let's say in the government, let's say, or any management area, you find sometimes punishment is given so that the action cannot be repeated again. Like for example, in the civic or in the government, sometimes you find people are afraid to commit offenses because there's punishment. So where does the punishment, where does that punishment?
Can you repeat what you said? I'm trying to grasp it. Can somebody else repeat it for me?
He said in government, when someone commits an offense, then he's been punished. So what about that punishment? The government is punishing.
Yeah. So when we commit a crime and we are punished, so what about, see, while we are in the material world, we have to follow the laws of the government. And if we are not following, then we get an instant reaction. And sometimes people are even unfairly punished. They have even done a crime and still they're sitting in jail. Happens quite a lot. Well, from a spiritual point of view, you can say again, well, it must be meant like this. Otherwise it wouldn't happen. Krishna allows this to go on. So maybe in previous life they did something really heavy and got away with it and didn't get the punishment. So now this time they're sitting in jail, even though it may look like it's all unjust. Yeah, so we have to understand there is the lower level of justice in this material world, but then there's a higher level of justice, which Krishna arranges according to the laws of karma and so on.
So,
All right.
last question, Martin.
Last question. Okay.
You say that it takes a strong person to apologize, but it takes the strongest to forgive.
Yeah.
So why do some of us find it kind of hard to forgive?
Well, if we find it hard to forgive, it means we can't tolerate, inability to tolerate. Right? That's what the whole session was about. That forgiveness means we have to learn to tolerate. And if we learn to tolerate, seeing Krishna's hand in the picture, having some humility that yes, I deserve so much worse, so then we can be also forgiving because we can tolerate.
So we tolerate until we just have to hold that courage in our hands. So do you mean that we just tolerate until we hold that grudge in our hands?
No, we should not hold the grudge. That's the whole point. Right? Actually, if you only suppress things, then you keep on hanging on to the grudge. But if we do this internal work, what we all discussed for the last 1.5 hours, then we actually cultivate true tolerance. Right? Yes? Then we can let go. And then we can also be forgiving because we see Krishna's trying to teach me something. We can see Krishna's hand in the picture. And then we can forgive. Then we don't blame in our mind the other person. But we realize, yeah, actually, I deserve it. And Krishna's giving me a good lesson here. Yes. And then we can be forgiving. Right? Makes sense? Yes. So one more time, I want to bring your attention to these books because here in the Fourth Ego book there's so much more in it than what we discussed. Right? So many more things. Also there's a whole chapter on chanting, how to chant, so it really subdues and dissolves the Fourth Ego because the chanting is very instrumental in dissolving the Fourth Ego. You have to know how to chant, but we don't have the time to discuss all these topics. So that's why I'm writing the books, very different because they're meant to play different roles. And we women are so powerful, we have this powerful Shakti, so we have to learn how to use it. Very interesting, very helpful for married life. It's an eye-opener. You realize how the whole human society is put upside down because of this man-woman equality. Everybody who preaches a little stuff, we have to know these things. And then sheltering relationships, that's about the whole importance of having a mentor. We mentioned it this time a few times, yesterday a few times. That's the whole Gnade. When you read this, you will be convinced that without having a mentor and eventually becoming one, we cannot make arrangement. We will always justify everything, sweep it under the carpet, can't even see it. It's all big topic. And entering the Vyasasana handbook for matchmaking, for everybody who's not married yet, or for people who want to help others to find a compatible spouse. Very important topic. There's a whole list of over 200 topics which both should discuss with a cool head to see, are we really on the same page? Do we have same goals and moods and visions of life? Because often people just fall in love and they don't talk about things, and then after 2 years of married life they realize, oh, we are not matching. And there's divorce. So, and this is how to create the culture of bhakti in our family life. Family life is an ashram, secrets of success. It's like a handbook for successful family life. So many practical details are there. Every household should have this book. Yeah. Because many married devotees' home life is not an ashram, not a suitable place for cultivating bhakti. It requires training. And this book is even the preparation to the next book, the Vanapastasana. Yes, that's the stage in life when the kids are grown up and more or less settled. The parents are meant to move on to the next phase. Vanapasta, very important time. People don't even know anything about it and plan for it. And very practical, very good tips how to become more simple, simplify our life, and deepen our spiritual practice to prepare for death. And there's a whole chapter on death. What happens there? All the subtleties, how to prepare, how to accompany others and support them, help them to focus and let go and move out. So if any of you want some books, they're 2,000 shillings each. It may sound a lot, but it costs me so much money to send these books here for my whole idea. So that's why I can't sell for cheaper than that. But many people here in Kenya and the other centers, many got the whole set because there are all such good topics. Each book is a 15-hour course. So you get quite a bit of education here which we can use in the preaching and training devotees and that. Okay, so thank you so much. Anybody who wants books, you can pay cash or with in-person. That's not it. Okay, thank you so much for coming. So tomorrow we will not have a program. Then Sunday I give the morning class on envy. Please don't miss that session. It's a good topic. And then Monday we have which topic? I forgot. Oh, anxiety, suffering of this. It's also a good one. Because we always think anxiety is suffering, but no, it is actually this transformative Yes, so please come in. Thank you, Srila Prabhupada. Sadhu